Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Cruz, and for my demonstration speech, I will explain how to be fearless in an interview. Now, I would explain to why I chose this topic. One of my first job was at Paramount Studios. I was a security guard, but before I got the job, I went into an interview. My buddy, a close friend of mine, kind of led me into the job. He got me the interview, and he gave me a few warnings of what they might do, but it wasn't even close to what he explained they were gonna do. So when I walked in, right away they put me into a conference room with 3 different people. The interview started off good, simple questions. They were trying to get to know me and stuff, and I was in there like, okay, like I'm super calm, I'm gonna ace this interview. But all of a sudden it got more intense. They started me asking different questions, different scenarios. At times, a lot of times, one person would ask me one question, another person another question. Like, it just kept on going. Sometimes I didn't even have time to answer a lot of the questions, or I would even forget some of the questions because I was nervous. They made me nervous. They made me lose my chain of thought. So after that interview, I kind of thought to myself, what did I do wrong? What did I do to lose my composure, my confidence? And it was my fault and their fault too, you could say. So what I mean by my fault is, what people don't really understand is when we're nervous, we tend to think about a lot about our facial expression. Because also through the interview, I kept on getting questions like, "You're nervous, huh?" And I would obviously say, "No, I'm cool, I'm chill, I'm not nervous." But they saw through my facial expression, what I was trying to explain, that your facial expression gives off to them that, okay, he's nervous. And when we're nervous, we tend to think a lot about our facial expression, or sometimes we would try to go into an interview with a dead man face or poker face, or sometimes be smiling through a serious question, or be serious through a funny joke that they would make, which would give them off, okay, he's uncomfortable, he's nervous. So one thing I learned is try not to think too much about your facial expression. Now, another thing that I learned is exposure therapy. So before you go into an interview, try to either 3 things. Either try to do like a mock trial interview with a mock interview with a friend. Sometimes that friend would try to help you out. They would tell you, "Oh, you look kind of nervous with this question," or your words are kind of like jittery, you don't sound composed, or they'll try to help you and point out different things that you're doing wrong, which would kind of give you a sense of like, okay, this is what I gotta do, this is what I'm not supposed to do. And also another thing, you could even put yourself into less challenging simulations of whatever difficult scenario you're about to face. So you could just start thinking, okay, this interview is going to be easy and stuff, like kind of build up your confidence a little bit more. Or another thing would be that I found really helpful too, would either walk around where the place of the interview is going to be at. So let's say if you're gonna go to an office building, you could just walk around the lobby, try to like look around like what's going on, kind of like have that feeling like, okay, I really belong here. I'm gonna have an easier, basically loosen up your nerves a little bit. Another thing that I learned, stay breaking questions. So what happened in my interview is that they did it on purpose to see how well you could be composed under stressful situations. So when they were asking me questions, one person would ask me, or one question of one topic, like, "Oh, how many dogs you have?" or "Oh, what do you plan on studying?" Which kind of like makes you lose your chain of thought, because you're like, okay, they're talking about my dog, and then they're talking about what degree I want, which kind of makes you really nervous, really uncomposed. You don't even know what to think anymore, because It was question after question. So what those are state breaking questions. If you ever run into a situation like that, try not to answer a state breaking question. So if one person's asks you one question, you answer that question instead of breaking off to the second question another person asked you right away, because that's how you would lose your chain of thought. That's how you would get nervous. You wouldn't even know what to do. When you do that, they would see, okay, he's composed, he's answering one question, he's ignoring the other question because he's in command, basically. That's what they would think. So these are some ways I learned how to be fearless under situations or even in an interview. Hopefully this kind of helped you guys out for future interviews.